Hello and welcome to Neptune Unveiled. This is our zodiac season initiation series, and that means we are welcoming in Pisces season. Neptune happens to be the ruling planet of Pisces, and so today we are going to be taking a look at Neptune. And it would be beneficial for you to have your natal chart or your human design chart so that you can locate Neptune for you, because we're going to be going into the houses. We're going to be going into the signs for where your Neptune activation is. And that way you can start decoding Neptune for yourself. This is part of the setup series. So if you have the Pisces season course, I would highly recommend that you review it because it's getting you set up for Pisces season. Today, we're just going to be talking about Neptune, which corresponds to Pisces season. But if you really want to get the 411 on Pisces season, which includes the house, the sign of Pisces, you're going to want to have the Pisces season setup course. And if you guys are in the Inner Circle membership, that's already inside of your student dashboard. And it would be amazing for you to review that, because next week, Bella is going to be doing a Q&A, and you're going to want to have the foundations of Pisces season so that all the questions that you ask are relevant and you already have all the foundation set up for yourself. So today we're bringing in some new flavor by introducing Neptune and, in a way, unveiling Neptune, because Neptune is about the veil. And we're going to make it real thin for you today so that way you can understand it. So thank you for being here.
If you don't know what gene key or gate that you have your Neptune in, Genetic Matrix brings in astrology, human design, gene keys, and overlays it. We are using Genetic Matrix, the Pro plan, and you can sign up for that for a month, for example, for $12.99, and then you download all your charts and all the charts of people that you want to know about, and then you can stop the subscription if you want to.
It's wonderful. And there's so much that you can get from the bridging between human design and astrology, because when you go pull up your natal chart, you're not going to have the gates. And this is what you're going to want to know. You're going to want to know, if I'm looking up Neptune, what gate is it in? Because if you look at a regular natal wheel, it's just going to show the sign it's in and the house that it's in. But there's even more of that minutia, because we get into the tiny detail of what gate is it in. If you want more of this decoding, go back to the Pisces season course, because we go into all the Pisces correspondences. What do you have in Pisces? What is in the 12th house? Where's your Neptune? And here we're doing a little bit more of that uncovering of the planet Neptune for you today.
Just to clarify what Ashley said, you could either do all these planets, houses, and signs by coming into the Inner Circle, or you could get the individual setup courses, or you can get the whole bundle. But the beautiful thing is that when you have done those 12, you have everything that you need in foundational astrology. You're going to have all the planets, all the signs, all the houses, and you're going to understand also a lot about the elements, and if it's cardinal or mutable or fixed, the modalities. So it's really just covering everything that has to do with foundational astrology and making it very relevant to human design and gene keys, because we don't want to learn it as an ad hoc system. If you were part of our foundations course, you know that we use astrology as a language to decode human design and gene keys even deeper and at a level that is more detailed.
Yes. Yay. Okay, let's get into Neptune. So you're going to see that Neptune is one of the last planets in our solar system. Neptune hangs out here in between Uranus and Pluto. That also means it has an extremely large orbit. It is going to move very slowly, and we'll talk about that later. Mercury is the quickest moving planet, and Neptune and Pluto are hanging out on the outer banks near the second asteroid belt. So it's a very slow transit for Neptune. So it's spending a lot of time in one sign. Say hi to Neptune. This is the only time you're going to see it, because you can't see it with the naked eye. So you got to look through a telescope, or we've got to show it on some kind of graphic. But Bella, why don't you tell us about Neptune?
Well, here we have the energy of the mysterious. We have illusions, mysticism, escape, and delusion. And it's also how we inspire and how we dream.
So let's bring in those aspects. So let's get oriented with the glyph, because the sigils that we see, the glyphs that we see for each of these planets, they hold meaning. It's the trident of Neptune, and Neptune is the god of the sea. And so, of course, they're going to have the planet glyph look like a trident. This symbol of Neptune refers to the trident of the mythological Poseidon or Neptune. So we call the god of the sea Poseidon if we are referencing Greek mythology, and Neptune if we're referencing Roman mythology. So they're the same god. It represents the multiple trinity meanings, such as the underworld, surface, and upper worlds or oceans and heavens. And also in Greek mythology, obviously, we had Hades that ruled the underworld. We had Zeus that ruled the overworld, or more so the heavens. And then Poseidon ruled the ocean. And so there's those triple threat gods. They covered all the realms. So the symbol is built of a crescent of receptivity facing up over the cross of matter, showing our calling to tune into higher realities while remaining grounded into the manifested material dimension. Some Pisces symbols do not have these like points or arrows at the top, and they'll look more similar to the different elements that you hear us talking about when we're talking about glyphs, because the crescent is usually looks more like a crescent moon, and then the cross of matter, you can see how this looks like a cross. But in different variations of it, people will take their own artistic creativity to it. So that's what it looks like.
Yeah, we can also see those arrows as piercing our personality, our ego, the little self, because when we look at those planets that are far away out, they are transpersonal, and they are also working on our psychology in a deeper and maybe more subtle way. So here is also piercing that personality and maybe killing it in some way.
Yeah, and there was a question about the cross of matter. It's just representing the form, the matter. Sometimes you'll see a circle, and that's going to represent spirit, but the crescent represents receptivity because it's also associated with the moon, which is also very receptive. So when we're talking about matter, form, you, receptive, what are you receptive to? The spiritual realm. You're receiving from the spiritual realm. So it's remaining grounded in this manifested, like you say, material dimension, but also having those little like antennae out, calling in the higher realm. It's cool how the glyphs also share the meaning behind the planet.
This aspect holds your entrance into a veiled and hidden world, away from the tough dual reality. This activation challenges you to surrender yourself, to trust, to abandon conscious control, and immerse yourself in the unconscious so as to experience your existence on a different spiritual level. So where you have Neptune, this is what's there in your chart.
Mm-hmm.
It's very out there. It's even more out there than Uranus. Last month we had fun. We were laughing a lot. It's like weird energy. It's revolutionary energy. And here it's almost like you're never done with the interpretation of what this can be in your life and what you're asked to do here. Because sometimes it's easier to be asked to find your evolution than to find your surrender. And I think many of us can resonate with that.
Mm-hmm. Surrendering to that great mystery. And when you start catching yourself asking the question of why, you also should realize that the mind's not going to answer those questions. And so we need to allow ourselves to just be taken by the mystery and experience it for ourselves and see what it holds for us, because it probably is going to be something that can't be explained, ineffable. Here's the evolutionary intent. This comes from Evolutionary Astrology. The Neptune is by Karen Howarth. It's to remember the real reasons for our existence, to transcend separation, accept life as a whole, go with the flow, trust the divine, see the good in everything without denying the shadow, surrender to a higher truth, and to access and serve collective consciousness. Very much around oneness and remembering that oneness.
And here, if you were with us last month, you're going to see that it's so different than Aquarius. So every month we are changing energies in a very radical way. So here we have a polarity that's feminine and negative. Last month with Aquarius, it was masculine and positive. Here the quality is mutable. Last month it was fixed. Here the element is water. Last month it was air, right? We're still in the astro quarter of integration of self in society, because we're here at the end of the wheel in the transpersonal signs. The ruler is Neptune for Pisces, and Jupiter is the traditional ruler. It's corresponding to the 12th house. The perspective is transpersonal. The beneficial qualities here are sensitive, compassionate, and adaptable. And the pitfalls, vague, burdened, vulnerable, or victimized.
Here are the Pisces archetypes. We come into contact with Pisces season during the transit of the fire starter, archetype 30. It's towards the tail end of this transit that we start getting into Pisces season. The game changer is also a Pisces archetype, archetype 55. We've also have the mother, 37, the detective, 63, the invitation, 22, the storm, 36, and the innocent, 25. And the innocent is part Pisces and part Aries. So if you do have the innocent in an Aries gain, you're like, why is this in Pisces? It's because the first couple lines of the innocent are in Pisces season.
So if you're a Pisces, then one of these gene keys or gates are going to be your life's work.
Happy birthday season. Okay, so let's move forward to our Neptune. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of cosmic forecast, which means we're going to look at the neutrino weather. Neptune's actually transiting through Pisces. So all of the kids that were born from 2011 onward, they've got Neptune in Pisces. And currently we're in gate 36 in darkening of the light.
Yes, so let's orient with the wheel. This is the sky, the zodiac signs, and then we have all the planets on the inside. You also see exactly what we were saying, that in Pisces, we're going to have those archetypes that you just saw. You can see right now that it's quite heavy, not only the sun and Neptune, like we already mentioned, but we also have Saturn, and very soon we're going to have Mercury, and then in a little while we also have Mars and Venus that are going to move in. So you can see that a lot is happening in these two last signs of the zodiac. And what Ashley was mentioning is that we have Neptune in its home sign in 36, and it's been there for several years. It takes Neptune about 14 years to move through a whole sign. So then if you divide that by the number of gates, then you realize that it stays in the same gate for several years. And then what we are going to see on the next slide is that it's going also a bit back and forth, because those planets are, from the Earth point of view, retrograding and then stationing going forward. So in those periods, the same thing that we've had with Pluto in Capricorn Aquarius, it's going to go over a few times until it's like really into the next sign.
So like I mentioned before, Neptune went into Pisces in 2011, but it was like going retrograde between the two signs before, and like officially solidly in 2012, and it's going to be there until 2026. In 2025, it's going to be going retrograde back and forth between Pisces and Aries, but will officially go into Aries in 2026. And you're going to see that finally on April 10th of this year, Neptune's going to go into gate 25. It's been in gate 36 for years. And I don't know about you, but my evolution sphere is the 36. So I'm curious to see, once Pisces gets off of that conjunction with my when on my conscious Earth, I wonder what's going to happen when it goes into 25 on top of my North Node. But that's neither here nor there. July 2nd, it's going to go retrograde, and then it's going to go back into gate 36 in September of this year. Then it'll go direct, and then it'll start moving back into gate 25. So it does this little dance. I don't know if I want to go in this one or that one. And so it has to make sure that, did you learn that lesson? Did you do what you were meant to do in that season? How about we go around it one more time? So we feel a little bit of that let up, and then we come back to go over to go into the deep waters again, or into the waters again. So that's just how Neptune works in transits. And Neptune's approaching the completion of Pisces season. And remember how we said that Neptune corresponds to Pisces? It's like its home base. When it goes into Aries, it's going to be like a completely disharmonious situation, I think, for Neptune, just because Pisces is so different from Aries. Remember when they're right next to each other on the wheel? It's just like opposites. So we'll see what happens and what kind of initiatives we take. And do we have any delusions that we're taking initiative on? I'm not sure, but we'll see what happens when we get there, I suppose.
And the other thing I wanted to mention, we did speak about if you have the 36. I believe that if you have the 35, especially if you have an undefined emotional center, then the last few years for you could have been a roller coaster, or at least there probably has been some transistoriness, some changes, some turbulence in your life. Because if you have the 35 hanging from the throat and you don't have a defined emotional center, suddenly with this energy here for so long, you have from the transits that whole channel of transistoriness 35, 36. So that is also an energy that probably is going to change a lot for you when Neptune comes into the G center and is not in any way activating the emotional center or meeting up with from the emotional center to the emotional center anymore.
Hopefully, you learned a lot of really great strategies for getting the emotions to the throat. And you take that with you when it's not activated as well. Okay, please locate your Neptune. You probably already have. A lot of you already are really good at finding that. So it's located here in your chart, and you're going to want to also note what center is it in? Is it in a defined center? Do you have the complete channel? Those are some important data points for you to inquire around when you're doing your contemplation around Neptune, because it's going to impact the way that you experience this planetary activation. If you have it in an undefined center with inconsistent energy, you're going to be experiencing that energy when you come in contact with other people. When it gets defined, if you have the whole channel, it's going to be like an internal process that you are going through within yourself. It's not so much you interacting with the other. So there's just some little tidbits in that, but just take note of the configuration of that Neptune activation in your body graph. And then if you're not familiar with our archetypes and their names and correspondences to the numbers, you can grab your Neptune archetype name here.
So you just look at what's the number of the gate that you have Neptune in, and then that number is the archetype. So that's how simple this works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and since Neptune moves fairly slowly, a lot of us who are around the same age, we're going to have similar Neptunes. And so people that were born in 87, you might share the vital with me, because the 58 is my Neptune on both sides. And that's probably why we're also seeing like a lot of people with similar Neptune activations in the chat as well. All right, let's take a little bit of a deeper look at your Neptune activation. Here we're going to go and see Neptune in the zodiac signs.
So this is generational, and it goes together with what happened in history. We know that when Uranus was discovered, that was when with a telescope, and we can look at what was happening in the world at the discovery. But then also each generation that has it in a certain sign is going to have things in common. So this is where we're seeing what we were just speaking about in the chat. We're going to see whole generations that have similar themes to work with in terms of Neptune in the signs. And we're not even going to go over all of them, because it would go over like 165 years. We're going to go over the 100 years where people are still alive. And possibly when it comes to those outer planets, it's almost more important, or at least more individual and personal, what house you have it in, because that's going to depend on what time in the day you were born. The sign is important, but to see how it's lived out and where it's lived out in your own personal charts is going to be through the house. So we are going to go through the signs first, and you're going to see what Neptune generation you belong to, and then we're going to go through Neptune in the houses, and then you're going to be like, oh yeah, we could be born the same day, but we're going to have it in the same sign, but it's still going to be in a different house because we're born in different parts of the world or at different times of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So before we go into those zodiac signs, let's just see what Neptune represents when we're looking at that zodiac sign. So remember how Neptune was the way that you imagine? It's also how you utilize your imagination, what kinds of ideas, dreams, and goals you have, how you bring dreams into reality, how you refine and create new worlds in the non-physical, how you understand others, how psychic and visionary you are, the way you embark on your spiritual quest, learning to let go, and how you detect what is behind the scenes. Bella, want to bring us into the first signs?
So remember here again, the orbit time is 14 years in each sign. So here, Neptune in Virgo was from 1928 to 1942. This period was marked by challenging events, including the deepening of the global financial crisis and the onset of World War II. People born during this time were characterized by their practical and rational mindset, viewing hard work as a means to assist others and enhance their lived reality.
That's my grandma. That's my Gigi.
And that was the values that they wanted to give to their children. But then we see that the children and the grandchildren are going to have a different mindset anyway. And it's really those outer planets that are the Pluto and the Neptune and the other outer planets that are forming more of that kind of collective psyche that is alive during a certain period of time.
So if you have Neptune in Libra, that is between 1942 to 1956. This era signified a quest for a society more inclined towards diplomacy and equality, highlighted by the surge in peace and justice movements. It represented the post-war generation's effort to reorganize, discover new avenues, and develop new ways of expression following years of numerous crises. Makes sense, right? Depending on what's happening during the time.
If you have Neptune in Scorpio, it means that you're born between 1956 and 1970. During this phase, the dissolution of traditional values and societal taboos were pronounced. Scorpio's transformative and rejuvenating power was magnified by Neptune, marking a period characterized by sexual freedom, the rise of the hippie movement, and the increased drug use as an escape from reality.
People with Neptune and Sagittarius witnessed a pursuit of a better world, emphasizing religious or spiritual values. The era was notable for an increased interest in philosophy, higher education, foreign cultures, and mysticism. Oh, yeah, I want to be in there. Society yearned for more humor, optimism, and lightheartedness.
I recognize this because I do feel that being born in Europe during this time, it was like everything is possible. You can be anything, you can do anything, almost too much, because then it's so much to choose from that you don't even know where to go. 100%.
You're a cusper, though, right?
I am, yes.
Yeah.
And then we have like Ashley, Neptune in Capricorn, born from 1984 to 1998. This generation emerged during significant social and economic shifts, where materialistic values soared. These individuals faced the challenge of structuring society and devising new work paradigms as traditional models became obsolete.
Oh, that sounds boring. But I am a Capricorn rising, so apparently we're going to be changing the way that we do business and work. There we go. Transforming the work environment. Neptune in Aquarius, 1998 to 2011. How old are these people? Is anybody on here? I know my nanny was born in like 20 or 2001, and I don't think she's interested in this stuff right now. So I don't know if we've got any youngins. She's like 23, so she just turned 23. So Neptune in Aquarius, characterized by innovation, progress, and the advent of a globally connected online world. Yep. This period highlighted Neptune in Aquarius. The generation distinguished itself through original expression and a shared ambition to forge a better world, prioritizing humanitarian efforts, solidarity, and fortification of social bonds. That was that one chick, Greta something. She was like, remember, she like came out and was like, for humanitarian efforts. I forget even what she was like all over the place about, but yeah, it makes sense. Those are the younger, not so much younger generation than us is really bringing in those humanitarian efforts, because I guess that's the focus of the generation when we get into these outer planets.
I hope she just gets to be a normal teenager. I mean, I'm Swedish. Greta is Swedish, and yeah, I just want to hug her and let her be a normal human and not struggle so hard in some way, and not be used the way that I feel like she was used as well in mass media.
Mm-hmm.
And here we have the babies almost, the teenagers still. So Neptune in Pisces.
Yep. All of my children.
With Neptune in its domicile, the planetary traits are amplified, enriching values such as empathy, intuition, and solidarity, and compassion. This generation is more willing to express emotion, embrace creativity, and pursue their dreams. A significant emphasis on spirituality and the quest for a connection beyond the tangible is evident. Ooh, I love it. I get like chills. These are the children of the new world.
Oh, I like it. I like it. Dang, you should have done something for Aries too. I want to know what happens from 2026 onward. That's when we're having the shift to the.
We are too logical. We're like, we don't need that. These kids are not born. We should get the rave children. Oh my God, Ashley, it starts in 2027. It's the freaking rave children.
Oh my God, Aries, it's the new, guys, new. Aries is new. I think that, you know how Neptune or Pisces is like corresponds to the 12th house and it's the non-physical. And then we get to Aries, it's like first house physical. It's like, of course, new is going to be born during this time because we're tuning into that non-physical and we're bringing it into fruition. And so who's going to be the ones that are birthing these babies? Probably the Capricorn people and the Aquarius people. Yeah.
And I am 100% sure that we can go back and find some recording with Ra where he's speaking about the rave children 2027 and Neptune and Aries. Like, I'm 100% sure if somebody has a lot of first line, if you have any investigator out there, go and look, go and search, use AI or to go through. I'm 100% sure that there is something on that because it's very important. And it's very much exactly 2027 that it starts. So, yep.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, la. Okay, switching gears from the signs to the houses. Double check. And this changes if you decided to do it as whole house versus Placidus.
They're not right or wrong ways in terms of the houses. They are just different perspectives. It's like I take a photo of your nose from in front and I take the photo of your nose from the side. It's going to look different. So these are perspective. You don't have to choose one. You can look at more than one perspective. And you can find chapters on each house, but we have really done our best to condense them into small descriptions.
So let's start with the first house. You are artistic, idealistic, and sensitive, often finding yourself caught between your rich imagination and the practical demands of daily life. Balancing your spiritual and creative potential with real world responsibilities is crucial to avoid getting lost in escapism. That's Neptune in the first house.
And of course, if you have Neptune in the first house, it's going to be close to your ascendant. It's going to be important in your life. It's going to be strong in your life, especially if it's there. You want to learn about Neptune and understand what it is to be a Neptunian being. If you have Neptune in the second house, then intuition and imagination play a significant role in how you approach your material resources. You are encouraged to adopt a pragmatic approach to financial matters, avoiding speculative risks and maintaining honesty to ensure financial stability. So the second house, connected to Taurus, connected to Earth element, it's very tangible. And then you have a planet in there that's very intangible. Mm-hmm. So there could be intuition about investing, intuition about how to make money. And at the same time, because they are quite different, it's a little bit here of a warning or at least an encouragement to be tangible in this house because it has to do with that foundational stability and financial stability.
Yeah. And there could, in a way, be a real struggle to stay tangible, like Bella said, if you have Neptune there, because the delusion can happen. I don't know how the delusion would translate into the material realm.
Money's not real. I don't care. Money's not real. Anyway,
Money's not real. Yeah, money's not real. Or let's spend it. We'll get more. Like it's just gonna fall off the
we are
tree.
all one, so money belongs to everyone.
Oh my God. That's the extreme. Okay, so then if you have it in the third house, you have an intuitive mind. Remember, third house communication, capable of absorbing information in unique ways. Challenges in traditional learning and communication highlight your need for finding innovative approaches to education and interpersonal connections. So I could imagine that having Neptune in that third house would create some kind of like speech delays or impediments because you're trying to communicate the non-physical or subconscious realm, and people are not communicating the same way that you would be communicating. Which, if you think about it too, having Neptune in Pisces for all these younger generations, all of my children, they all go to speech. And I'm a Virgo ruled by Mercury. My husband's a Gemini ruled by Mercury. We all communicate in a different way. And so they're all in speech. I wonder if there's a lot of children that are born during that time having a lot of Pisces, Neptune situation happening are also finding it difficult to communicate, which as we're moving closer and closer to the raves, they're not communicating. They're communicating on a different realm, in a different level. And so maybe we're just seeing how we're getting closer and closer to nonverbal communication.
I think that it can be beautiful here as well, though. I have Mercury in the 12th house, which is a similar energy, like the 12th, and then Mercury being connected to Gemini. And I feel as well that if we get encouragement as children and during our lives, we can be very proficient when it comes to speak about those Pisces, 12th house, Neptune themes. But it really takes, I believe, parents that say, yeah, I want to listen to you and actually a little bit help children to make order, because there's so much that's going there. Many of you know how I love Matthias de Stefano, and he remembers like all his past lives for 12,000 years. And I feel that parents are so important in that sense. And if his mom would have said, you have psychosis, some of the people said that you have psychosis, you're schizophrenic, there's too much going on in your head, and they would have shut him down, then that would have been completely different than she's saying, we just have to find people that can help you make order so that can you understand more what's going on. And that seems super important when you have the combination here of the third house and Neptune, or the 12th house and Mercury, to just know that there's, like you're saying, Ashley, there's not just one way of communicating, and more we are going to have to see the subtle and the tangible. That's what's happening when we come into 6-line reality 2027. It's 6-line reality. It's not tangible in the way that it is now that we are in a first line. So I definitely believe we're going to need communicators that cannot only speak about what we can touch and see. Neptune in the 4th house. Feelings of uncertainty and idealism color your perception of home and family. Confronting and accepting the reality of your domestic situations help you move beyond idealized notions towards a clearer understanding of your personal life. And there is the fact that the 4th house is connected to Cancer, the water element, and the Neptune here. I believe there can be healing and understanding in having Neptune in the 4th house. And it allows us to take off the veil of some of the family matters that maybe for generations and generations have been hidden. So if you have Neptune in the 4th house, possibly this is the lifetime where you come in contact with gene keys and you go into your core wound, the vocation sphere in the shadow frequency, and you're able to unpack and unveil a lot of what's there.
I guess for each of these, you know how Neptune represents what is veiled? Like we are unveiling in these different areas, whether it be the self or finances or communication or the family. Like what's hidden? What's behind? What's diluted? Where can we find the truth? And it's not intellectual, it's not an air sign. So it's actually being immersed in it, becoming it, enmeshing in it to see, all right, what's happening here, and having different experiences in different places. It's not just like your whole life being in that same environment to see, oh, okay, you're going to be with your family, then you're going to make your own family, then you're going to be part of like other people's structures and stuff. So you're going to see maybe how it's different between all of them because you're actually becoming very connected and enmeshed in all of those dynamics. So having a bunch of different experience is going to help you discern and lift that veil.
I feel that with what you're saying, the toolbox that you get with Neptune is not tangible tools that are normally necessarily valued in society. So you're going to get a very different tool set that maybe even can be judged. The way you communicate, if you have it in the third house, the way you go about taking off the veil with your family. So it could even be a reaction towards that. Like, why do you have to go so deep? Why do you have to be so spiritual? So to learn to use those subtle tools that we have, those mystical spiritual tools in that area. And that is part of also getting rid of the conditioning. That's not how we do it, usually in that area. So let's look at it in the fifth house.
The fifth house is endowed with creativity and flair for drama. Fifth house corresponds to Leo, so we got some drama here. You navigate a landscape of idealistic and sometimes chaotic love affairs. Leo's very passionate. A balance between imagination and practicality is key to ensuring that your romantic and creative expressions remain grounded. I think when we were doing research, Bella, I noticed that Angelina Jolie had Neptune in the fifth house. That was in one of the examples. So I wonder how we can she is an actress. So what have we seen in some of her movies that really exemplify this Neptunian nature in some of her roles? Yeah.
I feel there can also be a very beautiful combination here. We have the more personal heart passion in the fifth house. It's like, I'm passionate about this. And then we have Neptune coming in, giving a more higher octave flavor of love. It's more the universal love. So there can even be, it can be that love story, that adventure, but then what stays in the afterglow of that meeting that person or having that adventure is like something that allows you to love yourself more, love humanity more, love everything more. So hopefully that's what Neptune can seed in that fifth house. So it's not just all these summer adventures or something like that, or dramas, but the drama can lead into like feeling deeper and expanding and including more.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying a balance between imagination and practicality. That's key for anything because it's very imaginative. They're dreamers. And so how can we balance those components so that you don't get far out in la land with it?
Okay, so this is me. I have Neptune in the sixth house, conjunct Lilith. So if you have Neptune in the sixth house, work and health are areas where your idealism and sensitivity manifest, often leading to challenges in discipline and systematic work. You are advised to seek holistic approaches and create positive work environments to differentiate between reality and imagination.
This whole work is fake, Bella. It's all fake.
On the positive side, yes, I feel like there can be some flow and some spirituality in your daily life and your work life. You're bringing that in to the sixth house. And maybe you're going to have a really spiritual cat or dog because we also have like pets in the sixth house. And on the harder side, this is connected to Virgo energy. So it can also be that you have somebody who's not well. Like my mom has never been well with her health. And also sometimes I feel a kind of timelessness. I really want to be systematic with my work, but sometimes it seems like I'm floating instead of getting the things done. And then it might not be until the night where it feels like maybe nothing is moving and it's dark that I get to sit down and do what I'm supposed to do. So not allowing you to be how you really want to be in Virgo. You want to be organized, you want to be step by step, you want to be efficient and feel like you're going forward, but then Neptune has its own agenda. And then you get to be more trusting, more spiritual, and more surrendered with this energy.
Okay, let's go to the seventh house. Seventh house often idealizes partnerships. You face the challenge of aligning your expectations with reality, emphasizing clear communication and realistic perceptions of relationships, foster genuine compassion, and avoids disillusionment. Yeah, they have a dream, and that dream's not always reality.
I can feel my solar plexus here. If you have Neptune in the seventh house, there's going to be a lot of beautiful and not so beautiful lessons in relationships. And those relationships are really important, like life partner, business partner. here's where when we come to the seventh house, it becomes even more transpersonal.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a shattering where we have Neptune for all of us, a shattering for me of my perfectionism because I have it in the sixth house. And here there's a shattering of what is possible in relationship. And in some way, it's not until you died to it and you came back again that you can maybe
Yeah.
see the higher octave of what's possible in relationships, what's possible in love, what's possible. Maybe you unlock more of the priestess energy in the sixth house, for example. So I can feel here how we have taken it a little lightly, but going back to that trident and those arrows, and like it's going to pierce. And here we see the area where it's going to shatter what's there so that you can wake up to a higher perspective, a truer way of relating to those themes that live here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you have Neptune in the eighth house, your strong psychic sensitivity and interest in the metaphysical characterize this placement. Integrity in financial and intimate dealings is crucial for you to navigate life's deeper mysteries with intuition and honesty. Here we have a resonance, the eighth house being connected to Scorpio, right? And water, and Neptune is also the water element. And here too, I think it can get pretty obscure, pretty out there, pretty deep. And at the same time, the potential of having Neptune there once you rebirth through this eighth house energy. And things that have to do with power. The power axis is the second house and the eighth house, or the themes of Taurus and Scorpio. You're going to see here that we have sex, we have money, we have a bit of that wanting to control the other. If I'm dying, you're dying with me. And secrets too. There are secrets here too, because Neptune already is secretive, and then the eighth house. So this is strong. So if any of you that have it in Scorpio, that generation, and you also have it in the eighth house, that's going to be felt in your life, I believe.
Okay, ninth house. Inspired towards spiritual and philosophical growth, you are cautioned against excessive idealism. Groundedness and sound judgment in your beliefs and explorations facilitate profound insights and spiritual understanding. Yeah, ninth house connected to Sagittarius, always on philosophical growth and higher education. They're already optimistic and idealistic, like, woo, here we go, more. The delusion is real here. But that's okay. I mean, they could bring heaven on earth with their idealism. It's possible. I will find it and explore all the land, inner and outer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe a darkness and a depression in the eighth house, and here we have the manic way of being in the ninth house. If you want a mental disorder for each one of the houses.
A mental disorder. Aww, this makes me sad. And then all of them are turning to drugs. What's the drug of choice for the ninth house, eighth house, all of them?
Right, that's so cool. That would have been fun.
Right.
Such a good thing. Connected to this, to the sign and the house for you. How do you escape? What are you addicted to? What do you do to not feel the shattering of the self, of the things that you hold dear? If you have Neptune in the 10th house, there are aspiration towards artistic, inspirational, or humanitarian careers. And there is a balancing idealism with practical consideration for navigating your career path and public image successfully. Interesting how it's bringing in the humanitarian. Yeah, because Neptune cares about that. It's not usually what we would think about the 10th house, but this feels like a quite good placement. But I think there can be some confusion at the beginning. Well, there can be some confusion because it's not really the 10th house, and the Capricorn energy is different. But then if you listen to that Neptune, I think that you can build completely new structures based on completely different values than what's usually society does. Right.
If you have it in the 11th house, then your dreams and aspirations are influenced by idealism and intuition, shaping your friendships and social connection. Setting clear goals and fostering genuine friendships are crucial steps towards realizing your hopes and wishes. The 11th house does represent friendships, but remember, it's also associated with Uranus and Aquarius. And so it's also like revolutionary and weird and like futuristic. So it's not just friendships and social connections as well, but here we're going to see that idealism can go into like your revolutions. Are they idealistic? Are they diluted? Like what is happening with this area for you?
And then the very last placement that you can have is Neptune in the 12th house. And here we find a profound connection to the subconscious and the collective, and it often brings a sense of isolation. Embracing compassion and understanding while confronting personal and collective shadows leads to your spiritual growth and fulfillment.
Yep, that's mine. 12th house.
And when it
Yep.
gets dark and difficult, it can be very confusing. But then what comes out in the higher frequency, in the higher octave, is very beautiful and very harmonious to have it there, because it really knows how to navigate the 12th house. If any planet does, Neptune does.
That's its like home base. Okay. We got some more for you though. So, first house is intuition through identity and personal freedom. Second house is intuition through resources and values. Third house, intuition through communication and culture. Fourth house, intuition through family and generational healing. Fifth house, intuition through artistic expression and romance. Sixth house, intuition through physical health and daily habits. Seventh house, intuition through partnership and contracts. Eighth house, intuition through metaphysics and memories. Ninth house, intuition through travel and philosophy. 10th house, intuition through career and legacy. 11th house, intuition through community and technology. 12th house, intuition through meditation and solitude.
And you could change that word intuition for imagination or spirituality. So you could, some of the words that were in the previous slides where we were seeing the qualities of Neptune, you could bring them in here. But here we really see in a more clear way the different houses, what's in there, what's the themes of the houses.
Mm-hmm. So remember Bella mentioned earlier that Neptune's going to deliver us lessons in surrender. So here we have a quote from Richard Rudd and Ra from the Understanding the Planets in Our Design book. They say that Neptune places a veil over the future and fires our imagination to try and pierce that veil. However, Neptune demands we surrender to the greater mystery, and when we do not, it can bring great confusion and delusion to our lives. Neptune makes us wonder why, and then leaves us to swim in its depths. If we cannot let go of trying to answer the why, we will get lost in the illusions and murkiness of those depths.
Mm-hmm.
Surrender the why.
Have you fallen victim to this anytime? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And remember, it's very sensitive. It's very non-physical. It's unconscious, subconscious, very etheric. And so when you are very 12th house, Pisces, Neptunian, you're going to feel a lot, and it's going to make you come more and more into that oneness energy, and where you and the other kind of blend and mesh. And so we're going to have a lot of corrupt attachment styles. We're going to have a lot of enmeshment. We're going to have a lot of, I don't know where I end and you begin. And sometimes we have to fall into that energy to be able to start to discern, oh my gosh, what does this all mean? And knowing that you're not a victim of it, even though people don't always have the universal love, higher intentions, because it could suck to feel dragged into the drama and trauma. And then Pisces and Neptune and all that, they have a tendency to feel victimized because it's like, why is this happening to me? We're very sensitive. And generally, people aren't going to feel that level of manipulation in that person. They're not going to feel it, but you feel it. And you're like, oh, why am I constantly being psychically attacked? Why am I a victim of blah, blah, blah? But when you go into that mindset and you're asking the why, I don't think you're going to understand in that way. And sometimes we get trapped in the victimization. So it's through the experience and entering into the mystery that maybe we'll start to learn the things that are going to help us live in this world of separation while still knowing that we are one and knowing that our intentions, our actions affect the whole and vice versa. And being able to differentiate and discern. I feel like discernment is a very important lesson for people that have a lot of Pisces or 12th house influence. And then let's also bring in the higher octave. So Bella's going to share about Venus and Neptune and their relationship.
So probably most of us, when we hear about Venus, we think about that's the planet of love. But here we see that in Neptune, we find a love that goes beyond. So Neptune is associated with universal love and is said to be the higher octave of Venus, who rules the individual or personal love. Neptune represents the universal ocean of oneness with all beings. Therefore, Neptune is highly compassionate, idealistic, and imaginative. So if you have, for example, a Venus-Neptune conjunction in your chart, well, then they will work together and your life is probably going to be a lot about love. If you have an opposition or maybe even a square, a 90-degree angle, there might be a kind of pull in your life where are you going with a personal love or going with a universal love? Are you becoming a nun or are you going to live that passion with your lover and that one person until death takes you apart? So look at those two in your wheel and see how they are aspecting each other. Like, where are they on the wheel? Do they seem to be in harmony or not? And if you don't really know the wheel, just look at the two gates, the two archetypes that you have there, and you can be, okay, do they seem to be friends? So in my case, I have Venus is the innocent for me, gate 25. And then I have Neptune in gate 11, which is the idealist. So the idealist and the innocent, I think that they make pretty good friends in my case. So that's a relationship to look at for you. And do you feel like what's a stronger pull in your life? That more the Venus way of loving in a personal individual sense, or are you more kind of the spiritual takes a bigger importance in your life?
That's an interesting inquiry point. Make sure you guys take note of this connection between the two and do your own digging because it's fascinating. Although, is it helpful? So also be focused on what's important and what can you discern from this so we don't get distracted into like all the different areas that we can go with this. Like, what specifically is Neptune trying to reveal or uncover for you? Like, what is your personal veiling? What is Neptune bringing to the surface for you as you are connecting to it? Because what you connect to expands. And so follow those clues. Don't avoid them. We don't want to be more disillusioned and veiled. So what's been coming up for you recently, especially because Neptune works on the subconscious, unconscious, non-physical, odds are like you already knew you were coming to this event. You already knew you were going to focus on Neptune. So Neptune's been working with you in the unconscious realm and bringing you little clues before you even got here. And so what happened today and within the relative past that probably is helping you and understand your Neptune. Okay, so again, just reiterating that concept of oneness, I think we can all really understand and go into the fact that Pisces, Neptune, 12th house, like separation is the illusion for them. However, because it's the end of the zodiac wheel, that's where we're arriving at is back to oneness. And when we go to Aries, which is the first house, and this is a wheel, we're coming to the self, the sense of self. But I think that as we make our not only like the transit of the archetypes, but through the year, we're making our journey through the wheel as well. So as we're getting into Pisces season, what is in the ethers? What is about to come into form? So we're coming from this sense of like universal consciousness and oneness, and then something is wanting to be individuated, maybe through you. And it doesn't need to be through physical pregnancy, but what is it that you are connected to and bringing through into Aries season as well? Because this is what we're kicking off. We're kicking off Pisces season. And let's get into that non-physical realm and connect to our intuition and to the oneness to see like what are we plugged into and what are we bringing into form in Aries season, where we'll have a lot of initiative and momentum fueling this new spark, this new thing. So one other factor tidbit about Neptune is that it has the strongest winds in the universe. And if we can link winds to intuition, because remember, the gentle wind is gate 57, wind over wind, we can also think about how strong that intuition is. If this has the strongest winds, it's also very strong intuitively, psychically. So just bringing in that connection or tidbit to it. We're working with water as well, and Pisces and water, it's very conductive. So we have the opportunity and ability to feel very connected during this time to the emotional realm and to the intuitive realm. All right, let's go into the examples. And Bella brought up hers previously when she was talking about her Venus and Neptune. So she mentioned her Neptune is in 11.5, which is the idealist. So in Sagittarius and in the sixth house. So did you want to illuminate anything in terms of like how that plays itself out or expresses through you?
Yeah, I believe because I have that conjunction between Lilith, which I see as the first shaman, but also who wasn't welcome in that time because we weren't ready for the feminine forces, the dark, the light, and then Neptune that also has this effect of mysticism and spirituality. And even if it's not a feminine god, so much of the themes here we have seen today are more in the feminine. So I believe having that in the sixth house in a low frequency, that could be to escape anything, escape everything, escape paradise because it doesn't live up to your expectations, escape your daily life and create those worlds that the idealist, the 11, can make up. You can see that I'm quite fixed. I have only 2 gates in open centers, which is the 11 and the 61, that are both quite, they create worlds from nothing. They imagine worlds from nothing. So there could be a lot of that creation of what isn't real, the ideas that aren't even real in that open or undefined ajna. And then hopefully in the higher frequency, it is to bring in those themes of the feminine, divine feminine, the spirituality, the mysticism, the going beyond the veil into the mundane, into everyday. And that's why we're sitting here on a Wednesday in February and doing this. This is what I believe it can do. And we can do it over Zoom, or we can do it so many different parts of the world combined, like whatever sea you're on, the world, the 7 seas, we can still connect. And I feel that's where we have some of those tools from Neptune that aren't necessarily what we think about a tangible toolbox, but when we can bring that, in my case, into the sixth house, it's really cool because it's a new way of doing things, and it allows us to go into these themes in ways that maybe we haven't been able to before.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Great. So mine's the 58.2, the vital. I have it in, it's Capricorn and it's in the 12th house. So the unconscious, the spiritual realm. In the 58, I have the complete channel. Neptune's actually connected to my Venus to make a channel. That is the connection between the higher octave, which is Neptune, and the personal planet of Venus. And so I think for me with the 58.2, when I think about the vital and life force energy, that's what I feel, that's what I think about. And oftentimes the illusion or the veil for me is that I constantly feel like other people are seeing my energy or seeing my life force, and like, oh, I like it, oh, I want it, oh, come this way. And that's where I, in my 12th house, feel victimized because I'm like, I can feel the suck or I can feel the pull, and then I feel the expectation. And I think that also with the 5818, there's also this energy of like correction. And so does it need to be corrected? Like, is anything wrong? Like, am I deluded, or is there delusion in my feeling of like, oh, this isn't really going well, or I'm dissatisfied, or I'm like, what kind of judgments am I making? And I think that with it being in the 12th house, it's very out there. It's very far out there. And so it may not even be touching or impacting the physical, but because I'm experiencing it, it's impacting me. And I remember having a conversation with Bella and Gabby for the Decide Challenge. I remember saying, oh, but I can feel their life force. And I'm like, oh, you guys are going to be traveling. It's going to be destabilizing. They're like, what are you talking about? It's fine. And I'm like, no, but it feels like it's so chaotic because you're about to travel and you are traveling. And where's the home base? And I think I'm just tuned into a lot on the subtle realm. It feels like a lot. and I'm trying to organize it and manage it. And it's like, it's Capricorn. So it wants to have a structure and it feels like there's too much going on. It definitely can overwhelm me.
For you, it's more in harmony in the 12th house because that's the realm where it's really proficient. And at the same time, you bring in Capricorn, which is the sign, it makes it a little bit more tricky, I believe. I hear what you say, and also with that second line, of course, you're going to reflect it in the other. You're going to have it in the dance with the other. And for me, it was one of my few fifth lines. So that can also be an inquiry for those of you that are here today to see, okay, what line do you have your Neptune in? And is that a line that is part of your profile, for example? Is that a line that you have a lot or not? Ashley has some second lines, but it's not her like primary makeup, but she has a few of them, and her pearl is a second line. So there's also something about being recognized for those psychic abilities that you have that's important, because the second line needs that recognition and it's here to find its right dance partners. So also look into the line and see if that is where Neptune is making itself expressed or known for you.
Yeah, and there's a good book that was created called The Line Companion, and it goes into each of the lines of this. And if you want to get into the details of your gate and the line, that one gives a good summary. You might need to chew on it a little bit. But mine 58.2 is actually called perversion. And if my perversion is in the 12th house, then how does that translate? So that's something to consider for me. And when it's perversion of life force too. And there's some weird, quirky things that could happen when you're going into this energy. And I do believe that the 58 also has a knack for like feeling into like the way that energy flows or goes or moves. And it's Capricorn, so it is connected to the physical structure too. And the 58 wants to challenge authority along with that 18. It's going to correct something. So is what we're correcting corrupt, or is what we're correcting like a delusion, or what's happening here? So what are we tuning into? And how can I utilize this whole channel to escape something else? Like, how does your Neptune utilize this energy as an escapist? And if it is a 12th house for me. So it's an inquiry that's very beneficial. Like, you want to see the positive sides of it, and you also want to know what the pitfalls are so that you can start to see it, because this is so subtle. Neptune's a far planet and it's very adept at veiling things. And what is it veiling for you? Yeah. Okay.
The line companion, instead of having an archetype for each gate, it has an archetype for each line, and there are 384 lines. And that's the book that Roy Rahu wrote about all the 384 lines of the Revi Ching. And we have in the inner circle Mary and Josie that are taking those keywords basically every day, and they're speaking in a language that is easier than Ra's language to what all these archetypes that are in the line companion speak. So that would be another playful thing to do if you're in the inner circle, to have that daily interaction with what's in where the sun is, what's in transit.
Okay, so where do we go next from this? So, like we mentioned previously, we've got the setup, your 12-month roadmap. If you guys are in the inner circle, please review Pisces season if you haven't already, because all of the live events that we have in the inner circle will support and connect to Pisces season, which is February 19th through the 20th of March. If you do have the setup, this replay, as well as the other two events we have, will go inside of your Pisces setup course. Today was the live component of this. We're going to put that replay in here. You're going to see this says Aquarius season, so don't even mind that. But it's just $35 for the setup course for Pisces, or you can join the Inner Circle membership where we're going into these seasons. So we'll be doing this for all 12 zodiac seasons. And then the two other live events that we're going to do. So if you're in the inner circle, these ones are coming up next. So like we said, Bella's doing a Q&A and chart interpretations for Pisces season and the archetypes that are there. And that's on February 28th. And on March 6th, I'll be doing a Pisces season archetype workshop. And we'll take those recordings and replays and we'll put them inside, of course, the inner circle and inside the setup. If you have the setup course, you do not have access to the live versions of these. So if you do want to interact and you want your chart read and you want to be part of the workshop and the energy, then you're going to want to be inside of the inner circle membership. So, yeah, those are the places and spaces that you can move towards as you continue on to Pisces season. So, good luck navigating Pisces season. And I hope that Neptune is going to unveil something magical, beautiful to you through the realm of your intuition, subconscious, or depending on what house you have Neptune in. Let's see where you're going to experience the most things coming to the surface for you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.